Welcome back to the High-End Society. We're back as well, here in the Analog Valley in Bergisch Gladbach. And today, we're going to take a look at what the company Thorens has to offer and its journey into the modern era after a tradition of over 100 years. But Gunther Kurten is about to tell me what's behind it all. Come on with me. Hello, Gunther.
Hello, Jürgen. Welcome to Thorens.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
My pleasure.
And I see there are new models here as well.
Yes, the new 404, the first prototypes are here.
Great. But you surely have more to show, right?
Plenty, over in the listening room. Let's head over there.
Gladly. Yes, Gunther, you have a truly beautiful listening room here. But tell me, you have been actively on the market with Thorens for many, many decades now?
Yes, for 143 years already. Incredible. 2018 was actually the significant restart of Thorens. In 2017, I had the very first initial talks with the previous owner, who unfortunately didn't have a suitable successor. And he approached me in my role as then ELAC managing director to ask whether ELAC might be interested in taking over Thorens. And for me, it was immediately clear, Gunther, this is your chance. So even as the managing director at ELAC, I was still an employee, but I had always truly wanted to take the significant leap into self-employment. And so I eagerly seized the opportunity and told Heinz Rohrer at that time, sell this company to me. And his response was basically just in Swiss German, well, Gunther, can you really do it? And that's how the discussions then started.
But it must be an absolutely overwhelming, truly remarkable feeling to be able to lead such a traditional brand now. When we look at the product range, what has remained and what is completely new?
If I look back on it, we've certainly had a few challenging years behind us where the product range didn't really fit our vision. And I have to admit, the chosen suppliers didn't suit our specific needs either. We absolutely had to start completely over from scratch. And it was very clear to me that if you truly want to be successful with Thorens, you have to reconnect, at least in part, with the fundamental and original core values that made Thorens truly great back then. So I first took a careful look at the entire product range and said, okay, if we're going to do something truly new, then it should be products that genuinely reflect the real DNA of Thorens. And back then that meant, of course, sub-chassis turntables with belt drive, more of a classic design and nothing too fancy. And then we sat down together, yes, with Helmut Thiele, and carefully considered which products we truly wanted to bring to the market and precisely what they should look like.
When you talk to the dedicated Thorens fan base, which is enormous, you will definitely get the amount of input and a whole lot of requests coming your way. How do you handle that? How can you make that happen?
You can't fulfill every wish. Some things are, let me give you an example. There are always a few people who approach us and say they'd like a BC model. Back then, the Thorens BC models were turntables without tone arms. That market is so small that you have to say, it's just not worth it. I myself am actually quite active in a few online forums. For example, I'll specifically mention the renowned Analog Forum, where a lot of dedicated specialists truly hang out, and you really do get valuable suggestions there. And of course, the basic idea for a product, we developed that here ourselves. But some little things, suggestions for improvement, actually come from that community. And we take a look at those. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Let's put that into practice. We've already received a lot of good suggestions.
You're already bringing up the topic of development. How should I picture that? How does a new Thorens come into being?
So at some point, I think, okay, the first one was the 1600 series based on the TD160. Then came the 1500 based on the TD150. These are things where you say that's very logical because there were already predecessors to some extent. So let's build on that. It gets interesting when you venture into new territory. The best example is the direct drive turntables, which we also have in our lineup and which are running very successfully. And that also has to do with, okay, let's carefully analyze the market, which specific price ranges truly work, which models are already well established and widely recognized in the market. And then we try to draw our conclusions from that and develop a product at the optimal right price point with the appropriate features. And here, for example, is the TD403DD, where some people said, but Thorens isn't known for direct drive. But that's not true, because there actually was once a patent from Thorens for a direct drive gramophone. So in that particular respect, these direct drives were already present within the company. And I even have over in our main office a direct drive from 1952 that wasn't even officially called TD yet and was originally equipped with an Autophon tone arm. Those are precisely the kinds of fascinating things I keep coming back to, and we also consistently try to break entirely new ground with them.
How big is the team here at Thorens now?
We're actually not big at all. So right now there are 6 of us here in the office. Then I have a lot of things outsourced, like Helmut Thiele, Walter Fuchs, just to name 2 developers. We also have others. Then we have an external service partner, Plattenspieler Reparatur.de, with Arno Schroeder, who mainly takes care of the old devices. We can't do all of that here ourselves. And of course there are logistics partners, production partners, and in the end that adds up to a large team. But the people who are actually on the payroll here, the core team, are 6 people with whom we manage all this.
That's actually a very effective structure. So you're really looking at a comprehensive network of various collaborators and dedicated development colleagues. But how should I imagine the production process? Where is it done?
We have a dedicated production partner for the turntables located in Taiwan. You have to imagine it like this. When I took over Thorens, there was no longer a Thorens factory. Those glory days in Lahr, where the Lahr device factory was, were long gone. The buildings no longer exist, and we basically had to start from scratch. And it was important to me to find a production partner who can deliver the quality. That's the top priority. Of course, also someone who can offer a price where in the end we can say the product fits into the market. Because I'm not the kind of person who says, okay, we only start at 5,000 euros or higher. We start at 500 euros and go all the way up. And this choice of production partner was extremely important. To be honest, it was also a stroke of luck for us because the collaboration between development and production is absolutely crucial. And here we develop the devices, we build the prototypes, we create all the construction drawings, and then at a certain point we hand everything over to the production partner. And then it starts all over again with us having many meetings with them. I also travel to Taiwan very often. I oversee the process, and from that, the first prototype is created on their side, which already looks cosmetically appealing and matches the final production model. Then there are further approval procedures before production can really get underway.